In the mid-20th century, Chilean President Salvador Allende was a very unpopular leader. Left-winged Chileans thought he was too moderate in social reforms and began to carry out terrorist attacks in the country. Right-winged Chileans also hated him and used propaganda and the militia to try to oust him from power. After a failed coup attempt, Allende placed Augusto Pinochet as commander-in-chief of the army. He used this role to stage his own coup, this time successfully ousting President Allende. Pinochet placed himself in power and was a cruel dictator who used military force to gain control of Chile. He violated human rights and used murder and torture in order to maintain his rule. Once Pinochet was in power, he immediately suspended the Chilean constitution, dismissed Congress, enforced strict censorship of press, and outlawed all political activity in order to protect his rule. In order to control Chile, Pinochet used his military force called the junta. They would arrest anyone accused of being communist or plotting against his rule. People who were arrested by the junta were killed, tortured, or brought to camps in the desert. During Pinochet's 17-year dictatorship over Chile, he was responsible for the deaths of 3,200 people, tortured another 30,000, and put 80,000 people in camps. Pinochet targeted communism so much because he worked very closely with the U.S., who at the time were very afraid of countries becoming communist. Pinochet worked with the U.S. because they helped him stage his coup and gain power. In exchange, he gave them back their copper mines, which were previously taken away by Chile's communist president Salvador Allende. In order to keep the U.S. happy, Pinochet worked with the CIA. He helped them hunt down and assassinate South American communist leaders. The U.S. did this so they could preserve industry and trade they had in South American countries. One of the victims of these assassinations was Orlando Letelier, Pinochet's leading opponent. Orlando and his wife were killed in Washington, D.C. by a car bomb. Later, documents between the U.S. and Pinochet revealed that he authorized the kill. Because the previous president, Salvador Allende, left Chile's economy in debt, Pinochet had to make a new economic policy. In order to stabilize the economy, Pinochet privatized all industry except for American copper mines and controlled labor unions. But a huge part of getting the economy back on track was cutting all of Allende's social reforms. All of the money saved from these cuts went into the bank accounts of Pinochet and his close circle. In order to prolong his rule, in 1980, Pinochet rewrote the Chilean constitution. In it, he gave the military all political power, and himself the ability to suspend individuals' civil rights for the interests of national security. He also added a plebiscite that in 1988 would keep him in office for another 8 years. Although he didn't stay in office the full 8 years, on March 11, 1990, Augusto Pinochet resigned as president of Chile. Even though Pinochet clearly committed so many horrible crimes against the people of Chile, he didn't stand trial until 2005. He was able to avoid persecution through legal maneuvering and government cover-ups because the U.S. didn't want their involvement with him to be made public. It wasn't until after his death in 2006 that the necessary documents and other evidence were brought to light proving him guilty. The people of Chile will never have their justice or the satisfaction of seeing Pinochet behind bars.